As a writer or reader, it's common to come across trends in popular works that you flat out don't understand. Why is that series or novel so much more successful than the one I love? Am I missing out, or the only one with good taste? There's no accounting for what becomes popular, and that makes it worth ensuring that elitism doesn't cloud our judgment, especially if the goal is to share creative works with others. I think my reaction to most trends says a lot about me. Oh, that's trendy? Yeah, okay. While it's good to have a discerning taste in things, I'm a bit of a snob. There's also a bit of a cranky old man aspect to it, like my reaction to seeing younger generations wearing the same clothes I wore in the 90s. I'm not sure we needed to bring that back. Since we all have such different tastes and preferences, I become very skeptical when everyone loves the same thing. It's not that I don't want people to enjoy it or share something they love, it's more that nagging feeling that it can't be that good if it appeals to everyone. Obviously, there's exceptions when an incredible work can appeal across demographics, but I think that's exceedingly rare. To phrase this as more of a spicy take, most of the things that are popular are inoffensive and safe. To reach a wider audience, they avoid being divisive or challenging. Snob. I think it's worth adding that in the era of rage bait, getting half your audience to hate something and half to love it is very effective marketing. My personal shortcomings aside, let's take a look at trends in the context of books. Alyssa has a great article on the subject for literary trends in 2024, and I think it's worth looking at some of her points. Romance dominated what agents and editors were looking for, and this is a huge umbrella term encompassing a lot of subgenres. Fantasy was at number 2, followed by contemporary fiction. Romantasy burst on the scene, and young adult rounded out her list. I think this word cloud in her article was especially illuminating. Nearly all these terms cater to a female audience. And there seem to be shifts in both the makeup of the publishing industry and the readership that support these trends. I'll touch on that later. So what do we do with this information? As a writer, I think it's very easy to get caught up in trying to cater to these trends, especially if you're desperate to get an agent. And I like how Alyssa addresses this. I don't think it's very productive for authors to think they should only be writing in trending genres. Instead, focus on the stories you want to tell and focus on the genres that you personally enjoy writing in. While it might be an excellent writing exercise, trying to force myself to write a young adult romance, it's probably not going to work out. It's not that I think I'm incapable of writing in those genres, but it would take a very strong concept for me to be drawn into them. Otherwise, the writing process would be a horrible slog. It's like what Danzy Senna said in that panel I attended. Writing a book is a huge, difficult task. If you're not in love with the story you're telling, that'll make it all the more challenging. This article on She Writes by Christelle focuses on trends in 2025. This whole list is incredible. There's no perfect science to making a bestseller. New genres are emerging all the time. It can take years for a Big 5 book to be published, so what's trending now may not be trending then. Much like with clothing trends seem to operate on about a 30-year cycle, the same is true with genres. I think her last point is especially apt. There's fatigue when something becomes oversaturated. At the moment, I worry a bit for Pedro Pascal. I like him a lot, but he's everywhere. Christelle makes some great points about how savviness and trends can inform your writing. Especially with genre works, the audience tends to have very specific expectations. You can play with that a bit, but pushing too far might lead to disappointment. In respect to publishing, understanding trends can aid you whether you're trying to find an agent or self-publish. You'll be able to provide comps and have a better idea of how to pitch your story. That'll help kickstart your marketing and give you direction. So what changed from 2024 to 2025? Romantasy shot up to the top of the charts. That in turn exploded in interest in romance combined with other genres. Grounded speculative fiction is rapidly gaining popularity in this uncertain world we live in. The emergence of hidden historical fiction and contemporary takes on the past also makes sense. Both of those follow long-developing trends of pushing for inclusion. Cozy fiction is another interesting one. Christelle defines it as books with low stakes, high fun, and minimal anxiety, which reinforces the idea that there might have been an oversaturation in weighty dark themes, especially in escapism. In the section concerning genres on their way out, Christelle brings up some interesting points. There's, finally, fatigue towards paranormal romance. What the Twilight series brought to the table has been deeply mined. She also mentions that exceedingly violent epic fantasy, in the vein of Game of Thrones, is starting to wane as well. Epic fantasy in the vein of Lord of the Rings might stand a better chance. I'm glad I pivoted my book to emphasize that angle more than grimdark. I think it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking only one dominant genre can thrive. In the aftermath of Harry Potter, it was young adult only. Then came Twilight with its paranormal romance. Love triangles between teenage girls, vampires, and werewolves, started exploring gargoyles and any fantastical creature you could imagine. I always wanted to write one involving mummies. Not the sexy ones you saw in the Brendan Fraser movie, really gross, decaying ones. 50 Shades of Grey was influential in kicking up the steaminess of genre fiction, and after the monster fatigue, that has led to some interesting developments. Apparently, Mafia Romance is the new hot genre. I'm not the only one who finds that a bit questionable in terms of taste, but it makes sense. That same violent, dangerous, and mysterious love interest that took the form of a vampire in Twilight is now a more grounded figure, part of the criminal underworld. Authors like Danielle Laurie and some Sketcher have had a lot of success in this new emerging genre. While Mafia Romance has been hugely popular on platforms like Wattpad or self-published, it hasn't quite caught the attention of the publishing industry. While I think it's fair to have some reservations about the messaging of this genre, I don't think pearl clutching is appropriate. But I do think there's a threshold where the love interest might become a bit irresponsible. Like in this example. In this case, I don't feel the need to elaborate on my position. There can be a lot of hand-wringing and misconceptions over what markets are actually oversaturated, especially in very broad genres like fantasy. You'll see people posting irrational concerns like, do I have to write in the first person? Is the third person something younger readers are incapable of understanding? While there may be some ebbs and flows in terms of preference, none of these are absolutes. There's always room for a variety of stories, which is why I think it's dangerous to overly focus on trends. That only leads to oversaturation. Years ago, I lived in the Koreatown neighborhood of Los Angeles, right when the frozen yogurt trend popped off. Pinkberry and Red Mango were the dominant chains, but on a 2-block stretch near where I lived, there's about 4 or 5 variations. Kiwiberry, Snowberry, Iceberry, you get the point. None of them are currently in business, and I don't think there was ever a justification for that level of density in yogurt places. And I think that's a perfect analogy to the dangers of chasing trends in publishing. You need to iterate. There's only so many variations of things like, in a school of werewolves, one of them falls in love with a mysterious girl and is threatened by a dangerous vampire. Or in a world of vampires, the most tawdry love is with a werewolf or a person. You get the picture. I write because there's stories I want to tell, things I want to share. And there's a bit of ego to that. I may go too far in the sense of, it must be pure and from the heart, but I'd rather do that than tell someone else's story poorly. Use trends to inform yourself and give inspiration. They don't have to be a prison. The main exception I can think of is if you're extremely prolific and self-published, chase all the trends you want. I envy your ability to write 10 books a year. I touched on this earlier in the video, but a huge trend I want to explore in my next video is, are men reading? There are countless articles on the subject, but where are they getting their data? And if men aren't reading, what can we learn from that? And how can we take advantage of that change? Join me next time.